Hey guys, today I want to talk about, will you just be making it and existing, or will you be living? And this ties in with a whole bunch of things. It ties in with money and the way we live over here. And a lot of people always ask me, Steve, are you really, are you living, or are you just existing? Somebody asked me this the other day, and one of my subscribers answered it, say you got to watch his videos, which I thought was a good answer. I thought that was kind of cute. But anyway, I want to discuss this a lot more because the other day I was up at the PRA, and I asked the lady at the PRA, I says, what is the average pension that you see for people over here? Like the average amount of money that people are making when they come to the Philippines. And I was actually quite surprised because the people that I see going through the PRA, the ones that I see all the time, the majority of them are well over 1,500. But she says that the average is like 12 to 1,500 for the pension each month, which is quite surprising actually, because that kind of shocked me when I heard that, because the ones that are coming to my area, they're usually in the sweet spot or higher. Okay, although we have people in the lower brackets too, it surprised me quite a lot. And I want to get into this because, when we talk about living, we're talking about happiness. Like, are you living or are you just existing? And I see a lot of the guys on the lower budgets here in our area, and because of the cost of living in our areas is quite cheap, that they're doing really, really good. And they're happy. They're also happy because of the area and the people here. And a lot of people, when they look at this area, they look at what's around them, and they say, well, I want to move someplace more upscale with beaches and things like that. And I understand where they're coming from, but you pay for that, okay? But they don't consider the people too. And the people in our area are phenomenal. And it's one of the big draws here, that when people stop here for a day and they hang out with us or whatever, or they come here to visit us or whatever. And we have a lot of people that just come to visit, or some people stay for a month, and some people, they end up leaving or whatever because they're afraid to leave their hotel or whatever. We get that quite often. And they really don't get a taste of what our area is like because they don't leave their apartment, or they don't go out much, or they just sit and watch TV all day. And that's just existing. You can exist on $10,000 a month, you know what I mean, and not be happy. It depends on you. You can be living on $800 a month and be happy if you know how to do it. We do have people here in the Philippines that are on very, very extremely low budgets that do make it. They do make it, and they are happy. Okay, but when something happens, that can be a big mess too. Because as you age, you need money for insurance, you need money for medical bills. And some of these guys, they don't have any emergency savings, they don't have any insurance or what have you. And that's taking a huge risk. But I want to talk about this a little bit more because we have so many people here in the Philippines that are living on those budgets, and they're making it. Okay, but the majority of people that live on those lower budgets that I talk to from other areas, okay, outside our area, when they move to a more upscale place, a lot of guys come over here on a $1,200 budget, and they move into a gated community, and they pay $350 a month. They got to pay $100 a month for their AC, and whatever's left over is theirs. I mean, they have to pay for their food, they have to pay for Wi-Fi, their phone. By the time they get done, they don't have much left for food or travel or for insurance. And you have to consider that, and you need to write out like a what I call a dummy budget before you come over here, and just do that and figure out if you can make it or not. And you can price all these things out on, by Googling prices on Pacific Cross for insurance, or cost of living, things like that. I'll actually put a link for a cost of living thing in my description today, so you guys can look that up. And you can look the cost of living on each town in the Philippines, which is pretty cool. So, I mean, you can look up like Cebu, you can look up Dumaguete, and it'll tell you roughly what it's going to cost to live in those towns. Now, I looked at it, and it is a little bit off. Okay, I'm gonna put that straight out there, that the thing that I'm sending you to, it gives you a rough guesstimate, and most of the things are right on there, but some are way off. Okay, like our rents in our area are super duper cheap in our area, right in this neighborhood. They're cheap. They're cheaper than the rest of Tracy Martirez for some reason. And also, Tracy Martirez is a little bit cheaper than general Trias, and some of the other towns around here, like Tanza, places like that. You can get nice rentals around here really, really cheap, like some of the ones I've shown. You know, for anywhere between 60 to 200, you can get a beautiful rental here. And if you want to go to General Trias, you can go more upscale, gated community or whatever. But the thing about the gated community is you really, really don't need it. I'm seeing it more and more. Unless you want a pool, unless you want to have a guard that you can call and say, hey, I need somebody taken out of here or whatever, and which usually never happens. You know, and a lot of the guys that live outside the gated community get along just fine. Because what happens is, usually when you rent a place outside a gated community, believe it or not, you're kind of living in a gated community. And let me explain about this. And it'll save you some money so that you can be making it here and you can be living here. Because most of the time, when you move into some of these places, your landlord is right near you. It's kind of like a gated community, because they might. I showed a place the other day. It was a 2-bedroom home for $200 a month, and that place there, the landlord lives in the front, and you have to walk by those people to get into your apartment, so they see anybody going back there, which is kind of nice. And you know, in most places, you have that option, or you have a neighbor that lives near you and they kind of protect you or what have you. You know, so I wanted to get into that, because if you're going to come over here and you want to live your retirement. Let me just say this, is that most people, when you retire, you want to live. You don't want to exist. And I keep telling people this, that, you know, when I always planned when I was a kid, that when I retire, I want to live. I want to live good. I don't want to, sit at home, be watching TV because I'm old, not go out, not be living the life, not being able to go out with my family or something like that because I don't have the money. I want to live. Now, granted, life kind of tears you down as you get closer to your retirement, because life takes care of some of your money and says, okay, you're not having that much, and you go through a divorce, or you go through another divorce, or what have you. You know what I mean? Or you go through a bankruptcy or what have you, and it rips some of that money away from you. And as I got closer, I went through a divorce just before I was about to retire, and it was kind of rough going through that because it stripped a lot of money. But I had to work 4 or 5 years to straighten that out, and I had to work hard, but I wasn't going to quit. And and I tell people, if some people don't have that option now because they're already in their retirement years or what have you, but some of you do have that option where you might be 62, you want a little bit more money, work another 3 years till you're 65. I know some people want to retire early, just like me. If you don't have that much in your Social Security, just say, you know what, I'll go 3 years more, or maybe I'll go till I'm 67. You can do it, and you can come here, and that way there you're not just existing, you're making it. And remember, the difference between existing and making it is up here. It's not the money. It's not always the money. Sometimes it's up here. A lot of guys come over here and they're miserable because, I'm only making 800, or I'm only making 1,000, or I'm only making 1,500. And I really wanted to have more than that. It's all in the mind, and you have to kind of figure out ways to live better. You have to make that difference happen. The difference between making or existing. And for me, I was lucky enough. I started this YouTube that has helped me, and a lot of other things happened to me that made the difference between existing and living. And even when I was on my lower budget, when I got over here, I was still living because I was happy. I had my family. I had the kids. I had my girlfriend. And that made the difference between living and existing. So for you guys that are on the lower budgets, if you find the right girl and you move in with the right person, that makes the difference between living and existing. And like I said, remember, the average PRA retiree over here, between $1,200 and $1,500. Now, that's actually not that bad right now, but with the current things going on in the world with inflation and stuff like that, that's getting eaten away if you don't get COLA raises. But most of these guys, they're lucky enough that they're on Social Security, and they're going to get those COLA raises, and it's going to go up. Or they're on disability, it's going to go up. They got their military pensions, or they got the municipal pensions. They got the COLAs built in, it goes up. So a lot of these people are really lucky, and they can survive and make it over here. But remember, if you learn to live cheap over here and learn to try to save money and say, hey, you know what, hey, I can cut here, I can cut there. It can make the difference between living and existing, because it might give you a little bit of extra money if you cut back on, you figure out how to use for instance, smartphones over here. There's plans on there, man, that are really, really good that can save you a lot of money. And if you find you're not using the phone that often, just put data on there, put the magic data on your phone, and that can save you a lot of money right there. And also you get a little bit of hotspot off that too, so you can use the hotspot for your computer service or whatever. It's pretty reasonable. If you don't want to get regular Wi-Fi, you don't want to use like have it all brought into your house and all that stuff. You can get the Wi-Fi that comes over the cell towers, and that's a little bit cheaper too. It depends on how much you use and stuff like that. All that stuff plays into what we're talking about living and existing. If you cut back on your AC, don't use your AC during the day. Use it at night so you can sleep good, and just have a fan on during the day. Or maybe put it up higher. Instead of having it on 20 Celsius, put it on like 25 or 26 or 27, so it just takes the moisture out of the air and stuff like that. That's the stuff that makes the difference. You want to still have that cooling in the house, because that's the difference between what we're talking about here, living and existing. If you're sitting there with a fan in front of the TV trying to keep cool, and with a glass of Coke or something with some ice in it, and to try to stay cool for the day, that's existing. You still want to have that cooling effect in there in your house, things like that. All this stuff plays into what makes you happy in the Philippines. It all makes the difference. I mean, for me, I live on the more upscale budget, like in the sweet spot or above, and we have a lot of things here. Like we have this cabana here, and that makes a difference, because I can come out here and sit out here on a windy day, and we have the cool breeze, and we also have fans in here and things like that. It makes the difference. It certainly makes a difference where you live, where you are. If you're living in a place where dogs are barking, that's also going to make a difference on how happy you are. And when you come over here, the biggest thing that's going to make the difference between living and existing is the fact that you're going to make it in your head, and you got to make it in your head that okay, I'm going to make it. I'm going to be positive. I'm going to keep things flowing. I'm going to be happy. I'm going to do what I need to do to make it. And you need to watch your budget. You need to keep cool. You need to have a decent home that feels like home to you, and make it your home. You have to have a decent girlfriend. And also the biggest thing of all, and this is the one that's the killer, don't bring that trash from back home over here. And we talk about that all the time. Don't bring that negativity. Don't bring that over here. I see a lot of guys that bring that negativity or anxiety over here, and that destroys people over here, and they're unhappy over here, because you know why? Because then they're just existing. I see so many guys, they don't want to use public transportation. They don't want to use the jeepneys or the tricycles. They don't want to do it. They don't want to walk places. They don't want, and you have to kind of adjust to that, or you know what? You're not going to be happy over here. And that's where you're going to save the most money for yourself. And if you have money, and you're kind of a person that does like to sit home and watch TV, and that's living for you, sitting at home watching TV, hey, more power to you, because you know what? This is the place for it. You can have have your AC running, and maybe have a few visitors come by, or go out to dinner once in a while or whatever. That's what it's all about over here, is just living the way you want to live. Make it the way you want it to be. I live the way I want to live. And I don't expect people to live like me. I know everybody's different. Live the life that you want to live when you get over here, and you'll be happier. And then you're living rather than existing. Existing is not a good place to be. Existing is just making it. But some of these people that are existing over here, they're existing the way that they exist because of the fact that they don't want to do cutbacks. They don't want to do the research on how to cut things back. You can bring your budget down further, so you can have excess money in your budget, so you can go out and maybe if your thing is going out and go to Starbucks, or going to have a coffee somewhere at a coffee shop, or a tea, or going to Chili's, or going to Kenny Rogers or whatever, or just going to McDonald's and having a coffee or breakfast in the morning. You know, some guys, that's to them, that's living. And it really is, because you can go sit and talk to people. You know, we're getting older, we're winding down. You know, we're waiting for the last stop on the bus to happen. We don't want to get there too fast, but, you know, we know we're going to reach it sooner or later. I don't want to get there fast. So take care of yourself. Be careful on your budget. Be careful on your money. And remember, keep your wits about you. Keep positive. Keep happy. And that's going to make the difference. I'm not saying I'm perfect. I have my rough days just like everybody else. But you know what? If you stay positive, you kind of wind through those a lot quicker. You just zip through them, and the next day you're better. You feel better. You know, and keep your health up. You know, one of the things in the Philippines that's the most important is keeping your health. You know, and if you don't keep your health here, this is the place that will destroy your health because of the heat, the humidity, infections, things like that. There's viruses, there's all kinds of things that can get you sick, even a mosquito. Something as simple as a mosquito. Remember, guys, you want to make sure you're living here. Don't just exist. It's up to you. It's ultimately all up here. You know, the difference is up there. I know there's guys that really are on the super low budgets, and that's a totally different ball game than what we're talking about. But if you're living on between $800 and $1,200, you can make it over here. But the difference between living and existing is, number one, up here, where you live, how you live. You can paint your apartment and make it happier for you to live in. And it might make the difference just having a coat of paint in there and having your place look nice and cleaned up and stuff like that. And then be like, wow, you know what? It looks good in here. My home, when it's clean, is my palace. That makes me feel like I'm making it. You know, but it's also having that extra cash in my pocket too, and that's nice. And I know people don't always have that extra cash. But you know something, sometimes the difference might be just going over to your friend's house, hanging out, doing a project over his house or something like that. What have you. Do something with your friends. Make new friends. Get out there. That's the difference between existing and living. Living is what you want to do. You really want to live in your retirement. You know, seriously, guys, when you come over here, for you new guys, remember, it's up here. Leave the trash behind in the States. You'll be fine. God bless, guys. Take care.